Good evening and thank you for joining us. A tower crane collapsed at a construction site in Kwai Chung this afternoon, killing an operator in his 60s. The victim, who fell with the structure from height, was certified dead at the scene.
Online footage shows the crane snapping into multiple sections mid-air before crashing down onto the hillside and nearby bridge. Parts of the structure were seen lying across the slope along Tai Wah Hau Road with joints twisted outward and signs of rust visible. The vertical support column was left partially broken. Firefighters and police officers were sent to the scene. The incident unfolded at around 4:30 p.m. Police received multiple reports at the time that a tower crane collapsed at a housing authority construction site near Kwai Pik House at Kwai Chung Housing Estate. The operator fell with the crane and was pronounced dead at the scene. The site spanning Tai Wah Hau Road and Kwai Shing Circuit is under development for two public housing blocks providing 554 and 383 units respectively, originally scheduled for completion in the first and third quarters of next year. The two buildings are to be connected by a footbridge. The main contractor is understood to be Woon Lee Construction. Chao Si-kit, chairman of the Hong Kong Construction Industry Employees General Union, says it's understood the crane was lifting steel formwork at the time of the collapse. He says they cannot rule out possibilities such as metal fatigue or poor welding, which might have led to the incident. A veteran engineer says the collapse may have been caused by the crane hooking onto a foreign object or improper maneuvering, as crane operation relies on precise balance much like a seesaw, where the load and counterweight must remain aligned. External forces such as wind resistance while lifting loads could also create stress, potentially leading to structure failure, he says.
Public hearings into the Tai Po Wan Fo Court fire started today. Evidence suggests that smoking may be a possible cause of the fire. There is also evidence of human error causing nearly all fire safety measures to fail. Samantha Lee reports from the venue.
The first public hearing took place at the City Gallery in Central. The independent committee in relation to the fire at Wan Fo Court listed 38 involved parties who are entitled to give statements, summon witnesses or provide evidence. They include residents, property management, construction company and government departments. Legal representatives for some parties were in attendance. The committee first heard the opening remarks from senior counsel Victor Dawes. The fire broke out on November 26th at about 2:30 p.m. Wan Chuan House was the first of 8 buildings to catch fire. The blaze rapidly spread to 6 other blocks, killing at least 168 people. Dawes noted that the buildings were covered with substandard scaffolding mesh, and multiple fire safety measures that ought to have protected life all failed. He presented photos, CCTV footages, oral evidence and written submissions by residents that show fire alarms were switched off and smoke doors being left open. Surveillance footage also showed the fire started at the bottom of the light well outside flats 104 and 105 at Wan Chuan House. While there is no direct evidence of the initial ignition, the evidence indicates smoking as a possible cause. Many cigarette butts and cardboard were found in the light well. Out of over 1,000 survivors, only 40 said they heard the fire alarm during the fire. Nearly half of them did not notice the fire until they were told by their neighbors and family members. Dawes played a few phone recordings of residents calling 999. A caller who lived on the 27th floor of Wan Chuan House repeated on the phone that the smoke was very thick, asking someone to help her evacuate. Dawes revealed that the resident unfortunately died in the inferno. Another elderly resident waited over 1 minute until the responder answered and connected her to the FSD's line. The responder also told firefighters the wrong address of the caller. Dawes said the committee could also review how to better handle emergency calls. The afternoon session also covers the deceased firefighter Ho Wai Ho. Ho was among the first batch of firemen sent to the scene. He was first assigned to Wan Chuan House, but CCTV captured him entering Wan Tai House, potentially due to the chaotic situation. He was seen entering an elevator to the 25th floor. 7 minutes later, he transmitted a mayday call saying that he was trapped on the 30th floor. He, however, could not tell which block he was in. After half an hour, he was found lying on the ground level and was certified dead in hospital. It is believed that he broke a window to escape the flames. The next hearing will be held on Friday. The committee has received more than 1 million files, including numerous photos and videos from government departments, law enforcement agencies, contractors, and members of the public. The data collected exceed 1 terabyte. This will provide an important basis for the preparation of its report and recommendations. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
The public hearing into the Wanford Court deadly blaze has turned its focus on smoking violations and safety lapses before the tragedy. The inquiry committee is now looking into whether relevant parties, including the government departments, had identified or failed to act on the risks before the tragedy struck.
A deadly blaze that claimed over 160 lives is believed to have been caused by a discarded cigarette. According to the counsel for the committee, the Labour Department received repeated complaints about workers smoking at the site of Wanford Court as early as July 2024. Despite the 16 inspections conducted, no violations were detected and no prohibition notices were issued. Some complaints were referred to the Fire Services Department, which considered the matter outside its purview. But police later reviewed internal chat records among workers from the contractors and found more than 80 instances of illegal smoking, with the contractor reportedly issued nearly weekly reminders and even introduced a penalty system to deter such behaviors. The inquiry also revealed that the rapid spread of the fire may have been linked to the use of non-fire resistant materials, including scaffolding netting. Further concerns were raised when the committee had been notified in advance of an inspection by the government's independent audit team. The contractor then arranged for a compliant fire-retardant netting, which was not used just before the inspection. Residents expressed disbelief after the hearing. This resident says it's ridiculous that safety was compromised for profit, and if the allegations are true, those responsible show a disregard for human life. This resident calls for accountability, saying justice must be served for the victims.
In Lebanon, displaced families are bracing for the Eid al-Fitr festival while trying to keep their Ramadan customs amid renewed Israeli attacks across the country. As Tehran kept up its missile attacks on neighboring countries, foreign ministers of 12 Gulf states are meeting in Riyadh, capital of Saudi Arabia, warning that they have significant capabilities with which to respond to the strikes. Nanny Zhou has more details.
The Islamic holiday of Eid al-Fitr that marks the end of Ramadan is around the corner. Many displaced families in Lebanon, who normally would have been shopping for meat and sweets to break the fast, had to keep Ramadan observances in shelters in the run-up to a festival marred by hardship. In Sidon, a displaced woman said, "It's such a shame for Ramadan to have passed without them being able to fast or to buy anything, proclaiming, 'We're now living in hell.'" Scores of people were reduced to sleeping in tents on the streets or in their vehicles, while others scrambled to find makeshift arrangements. In capital Beirut, paper and plastic lanterns adorned the hallways of a school that has been converted into a shelter for hundreds as people gathered to recapture a taste of the holiday traditions. The Lebanese government said more than 1 million residents were forced to flee their homes, and at least 912 people have been killed since the last round of fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Although the Strait of Hormuz remains closed to most commercial traffic, at least 89 ships got through since the start of the Iran war, including 16 oil tankers. Over 1/5 of the vessels were reported to be Iran-affiliated. There are also ships affiliated with India and Pakistan or heading to China. Meanwhile, foreign ministers of Gulf states are gathering in Riyadh for a pivotal meeting to tackle escalating Middle East tensions. This as Abu Dhabi's Al Dhafra Air Base, which hosts about 2,000 American troops, came under attack on March the 15th. Video showed one set of hangars to the northwest of the base damaged and another hangar to the southeast of the facility shredded by fire. Saudi Arabia, which had intercepted 4 ballistic missiles from Iran ahead of the talks, called for an end to hostilities on countries not directly involved in the conflict.
The targeting of Riyadh, while a number of diplomats are meeting, I cannot see as coincidental. And I think that's the clearest signal of how Iran feels about diplomacy. It doesn't believe in talking to its neighbors. It tries to pressure its neighbors. And what I can say categorically, that's not going to work. the kingdom is not going to succumb to pressure. And on the contrary, this pressure will backfire.
Danny Zhou, TVB News.
And still ahead, Emmanuel Macron reveals name of France's forthcoming aircraft carrier. Meningitis stirs fear in southeast England. And Victoria Park readies for annual flower show. Welcome back. French President Emmanuel Macron named France's next nuclear-powered aircraft carrier the France Leap, framing it as a symbol of national independence and a push to strengthen the country's naval force. Macron unveiled the warship's name during a visit to the shipyard in the western town of André, where its nuclear reactors are to be built. The ship, which is to enter service in 2038, will have a capacity for 30 Rafale fighter jets and 2,000 sailors. The cost of the carrier is expected to be around 10 billion euros. In the UK, doctors have been warned to watch for an unprecedented outbreak of bacterial meningitis B that led to the death of 2 young people in the university town of Canterbury. 20 new cases of the infection, which can spread through close contact, have been confirmed.
You have an infection leading to inflammation of the membranes that surround your brain. They're called the meninges, and that's why it's called meningitis. So this can be caused by a whole plethora of different bugs. Some of them are viruses and some of them are bacteria. In this case, we're dealing with bacterial meningitis, and these tend to be more serious.
If people are feeling sick, getting a sudden temperature, often with chills, sore neck, and of course, that characteristic rash that famously doesn't vanish when you apply a glass to it, which is what would happen with a normal allergic rash, these are all the telltale signs of meningococcal disease.
Officials said the majority of the cases were linked to the Club Chemistry nightclub in Canterbury between March 5th and 7th. Youngsters are particularly at risk because they will not have received routine vaccinations for the virulent strain of meningitis B, which only rolled out in 2015. To address the outbreak, over 2,500 antibiotic doses have so far been administered across sites. However, health authorities maintain that the risk of the disease to the general public in Britain and across the European Union remains very low. Police have received more than 430 reports linked to a new wave of crash for cash scams involving a total of $106 million. A further 16 suspects have been arrested this week, including 3 legal assistants.
More crash for cash cases came to light as the police's Commercial Crime Bureau continues its follow-up probes into the search of the traffic accident-related scams. So far, more than 430 related cases have been received. Over 280 cases, that's nearly 70% of the total tally, are found to be connected to a law firm raided last month. In a fresh operation on Wednesday, police rounded up 60 more suspects aged between 28 and 65 in connection with 11 traffic accident claims totaling over $3.6 million. Altogether, 20 suspects have been arrested. Police say some are professionals believed to have conspired, aided or abetted these claimants to provide forged documents or false information in order to inflate insurance payouts. Investigations reveal that the suspects fabricated income proof and receipts, sometimes using companies set up by themselves or relatives and friends to falsely declare employment and income. Some also allege loss of income during sick leave. In one case, a suspect claimed to be a consultant in a human resources firm earning more than $50,000 a month, but the company was in fact set up by the suspect's spouse, and the claimant had no stable income in reality. Another suspect working in the IT sector claimed to receive no income during more than a month of sick leave and sought over $100,000 in compensation. Investigations revealed he had continued working, earning a monthly salary of more than $60,000. Some of those arrested also exaggerated injuries. In one case, a claimant submitted multiple forged sick leave documents for an accident that involved no collision, but the driver involved was not even in Hong Kong at the period stated, raising suspicions of collusion with medical professionals. Police say they are still reviewing a large cache of documents and evidence and are not ruling out more arrests.
The Basic Housing Units Ordinance that is designed to deal with the problems associated with subdivided flats takes effect this month. A group of subdivided unit residents were evicted from a flat after a new owner took over. Some of them were left with no choice but to move to another substandard home. As of mid-March, the Society for Community Organization, or SOCO, reports some 300 cases of tenants being forced out. Samantha Lee talked with some of the affected residents.
Returning from work, Mr. Zhang squeezes into his tiny cubicle. This is his sixth relocation, a forced move after his previous unit was taken over by a new owner. He and 10 other tenants got a short notice from the sublessor, also known as the principal tenant, that they had to move out within days. They were given a new place, also managed by the same sublessor, with the same monthly rent of $3,200, but it is even more cramped than before. The tenant said, "Look at this gap between the bed and the wall. My phone was stolen at the last place like this. There is no security." As you can see here, this flat is carved into 13 units. Despite the dilapidated conditions, these units remain in high demand. Time is money. I wake up at 5:45 every morning. I will not consider places like Yuen Long as the commute time is too long. The Housing Bureau has reserved some 4,000 of the city's 21,000 transitional housing units for subdivided unit tenants affected by the new ordinance. However, units located in urban and extended urban areas account for only about 35% of the total supply. The Society for Community Organization has reported some 300 cases of tenants being evicted. There is a trend of landlords choosing to cease operations rather than investing to convert their properties into basic housing units. With no basic housing units on the market yet, grassroots tenants are forced to move between various substandard accommodations. Shilai Shan, Deputy Director of SOCO, said that many affected residents were helpless as it was hard for them to find better options with affordable rent in the market. She also noted some elderly people with limited mobility may need buildings with elevators, but those units are usually too expensive for them. She urges the government to contact the landlords to prevent enforced evictions at short notice. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
With the arrival of spring, making a comeback too is the annual Hong Kong Flower Show. Poised to open tomorrow at Victoria Park, the floral exhibition is expected to woo some 580,000 visitors this year, with the stock flower, also known as jelly flower, being the theme blossom of the year. Samantha Low was there.
Among of highlights at this year's flower show is this culinary zone, showcasing Hong Kong delicacies, including milk tea and egg puffs amid the exuberance of blooms. Also featured were iconic Hong Kong landmarks such as the old Legislative Council building and the Central Ferris wheel, as well as the yellow rubber duck reimagined in floral forms. The theme flower of the year, the stock, blooms in various colors. The flower show committee says the stock flower was chosen for its wide range of colors, long flowering period, and affordability. The flower show also retains its signature attraction, a sweeping sea of 14,000 tulips freshly flown in from the Netherlands. Last year, the flower show attracted 580,000 visitors, with some 7% being tourists. The organizer expects a similar turnout this year, with stepped-up campaigns to attract more tourists from the Greater Bay Area. Also featured at the show are landscaped displays from various mainland cities, including Suzhou, a first-time participant in the exhibition. The flower show will last for 10 days and is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Samantha Low, TVB News.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.